Cool. So what are we going to do now? We're going to bring up a real seller, an awesome person. Amanda, you can help the amazing Dr. Ann Miller, and you can turn on your video and your mic, and we're going to talk and learn more about what your opportunities that we have. I have a list here I made this morning of the steps to purchasing a practice. I had someone in the chat say, hey, I'm looking to buy additional practices. I'm a multi-practice owner myself. There's good parts, there's challenging parts, there's annoying parts. There's parts that make you cry inside. There's parts that make you proud about being a multi-practice owner. We have the awesome Dr. Ann Miller here. And as you get acclimated, I'm going to look at this question here. How are practices valuations? I know this person well. Hey, how you doing? I won't say your name because that's, we're on TV. 1 million people are watching in, 2 million will be watching by tomorrow. How are practice valuations being adjusted to compensate for COVID impact on shutdown, the ongoing average 15% decrease in patient attendance and government funding? Outstanding question. So you want to know the least fun answer, the worst answer to make people feel confident, and the answer that dentists love. It's often very accurate. These two words, I do not use them as an answer. It depends. Horrific answer for confidence, very accurate. Imagine you went to a restaurant. How are the additions to the menu tonight? It depends. Is the chef in a good mood or a bad mood? Do we have new fish or old fish? These are things. I worked in a restaurant that factored in to how this special was, but it's not a good answer. So in this answer, instead of saying it depends, I would say it's influenced by a variety of factors. So right now, getting good valuations on your side is important. What I recommend, like a restaurant server that recommends, is to work with a good dental focused accountant on a project. It doesn't have to be your accountant who does your taxes. So if you're going to buy a second practice and there's a practice down the street that was doing 600, now it's doing 500, but the owner still wants pre-COVID value for that. The answer to paying that is you're not sure. One of the things we'll talk about is if the bank isn't going to lend you the money, like talked about one of my favorite shows, DuckTales, Scrooge McDuck, the seller is going to have to be mentally flexible. So the answer to the valuations are all being adjusted on a case-by-case basis, influenced by a variety of factors: location, interest in the practice, what the practice does, where the banks will lend. I highly recommend connecting with a good dental focused accountant. If you're watching this and you text NTT, Nacho Transition Team, to 215-543-6454, you'll get back our menu of resources. Some of them are awesome sponsors. They're all great friends. They're opportunities for you to learn more. So welcome to the show, Dr. Ann. Thanks for being here. What are you doing on this Sunday?
Just relaxing, actually. Thanks.
Nice. This is my version of relaxing. This is, believe it or not, people are like, why don't you relax? Well, I actually enjoy.
I know you do.
I'm thrilled having you on. So the story is the star of life, whether it's our patients in an implant case, practice transitions. And I always say to my team, Nacho team and practice team, orient my mind, right? Orient my brain. Who am I talking to? Why am I talking to this person? I mean, Dr. We've been dentists for a long time. Have you ever walked into a room and totally forgot what you're going to do on the patient? I mean, that's happened to me over my career where you say, I'm a dentist, but I forgot. So you need things like the computer, or in the olden days, remember the olden days, like 5 years ago when we used paper in our practices? That was horrific. It was really so hard to open up a paper chart and look, 14 DO going to cry. Now, if you want to look, you have to open up 15 screens on the computers. Just want to know, I don't love all the paperless charting. I just don't, but that's where we're at. So share with us, who are you? Why are you looking to transition and sell your practice? And a little bit about the story of your practice.
So my name is Ann Miller. I'm in South Central PA. I have had my own practice. We just celebrated our 18th year. I was a startup.
Awesome.
So let me go backwards. I graduated from dental school in 96. Let me go even further backwards. I graduated from college in 92 at, let's see, I graduated high school at 17. I graduated college at 21. A month later, I got married. A month later after that, I started dental school. So newlywed, starting dental school, got pregnant my senior year in dental school, graduated 3 weeks later, had a baby.
And I have to say, we're here, and I have these at all times. You really like to pile a lot of toppings on your life, not just toppings at one time, right? That was a lot at one time.
I did it all really early. I worked as an associate, and then as I actually became a partner in a group practice. So I've done a little bit of everything from associate to I worked in a federally funded clinic to then, a partnership. And I realized in my partnership, I didn't know if I hated dentistry or hated where it was. And I realized I hated where I was. So I opened my own practice 18 years ago. At the time, I had 2 kids. Um, Baby number 3 came as a surprise later through the career. And yeah, so I did everything really early, Paul. I loaded it up early. Financially, I've done so well. I found out about 2 years ago that I could retire. I'm not even 50. I'll be 50 in March. So it's been my goal. My goal is when my youngest finishes high school, that I want to be completely retired and enjoy life. I didn't have a lot of, not that I didn't have fun early, but I didn't take that gap year. I didn't take that time to backpack across Europe. I got
Yeah.
everything done early. And now's the time I have the money and I want to take the time to enjoy life now.
And I love that. So we're talking about here. So I talk about the circle of dentisting life. So we have, people who are bads, baby age dentists watching in 0 to 2 years. The other seller who will stay anonymous for now, but for this one, we're both mads. And you graduated in 96. So
I've been
you
doing it
are
24 years, almost
24
25.
years. You're at the end. You're almost. This is great. You might miss the sad category. That's 25 years. So you're a late mad, and you want to become a RAD, a retired age dentist. But I like to share parts of your journey that's important, and I also like to showcase how we became connected. So part of your financial freedom, and how did you get on the path to that? Who helped you with that, and how did we meet?
Well, actually, financial freedom, my husband's worked with me the whole time. He worked in a bank. He had worked and he got the idea of business. I'm not a business savvy person. Luckily through him, I am. And we always, we saved. We didn't live an extravagant life. We have a nice house. We always took vacations. But Paul, I drive a 10-year-old minivan. He drives a 15-year-old car. They still work. So
Yeah, I like it.
we're not extravagant in that sense. We're fortunate. We paid for 2 kids' college educations. We started putting that all away when they were babies, $500 a month.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's all paid for.
So you had a good treatment plan. Life is a treatment plan, and it was a treatment plan for financial success, practice success, dentist success. Now we have so many people watching in, thrilled with how many have come to our Nacho Zoom TV channel. It's a real channel, right in my heart. I believe in it. So tell us about the practice itself for a second, and just some of the stats on it. Where is it? How did you wind up in this area? And then give us all the dentistry stuff, like number of ops, types of procedures you do, and your collections monthly right now.
I ended up in South Central PA because my husband's from Baltimore. We didn't want to live in the city. We wanted to live more outward, small town. I'm in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. So I did some stats yesterday, and if you look up in just a 6-mile, 8-mile radius, we have 50,000 people, 52,000 people. Cool. And in my county, there's 160,000. All right.
Awesome.
So within that, it's a small town, but I'm 90 minutes to Baltimore, 90 minutes to DC. If I want to go up to Harrisburg, it's 45 minutes to Harrisburg. So it's small town. I know my patients. I know all that. I go to church with them. I get to know the people. They trust me. That's the big thing, is they trust me. We started 18 years ago. We at first had half of a unit. Our 1 unit had started with 4 ops, grew and was growing, built into this unit next to me. I now have 6 working ops, and then I'm plumbed for 3 more.
And I want to jump in for a second, because we're going to do multiple TV shows, but what I want to share when something's valuable is I'm a practice broker. I'm also a multi-practice owner. I look to buy practices. So I like to play or coach. So what do you need, if you're watching, to connect with a dentist? So oftentimes you want too much information prior to connecting. So these are the things that I want. Where is the practice, number of operatories, and total collections? That's all I need to sign an NDA and talk to someone like Dr. Ann. I don't need to know how many prophies she did on Thursdays in 2017. Not going to help me. I don't need to know if she recommends fluoride or not right now. So what I'm sharing with you, if you're looking for practices, whether you're looking for your 5th practice or your first practice, a lot of times dentists will get themselves in what I call molasses momentum by asking too many questions early before they meet the person, because meeting the practice owner, whether that's virtually now due to the pandemic, whether that's on the phone or in person is key. So we have 6 ops. Tell us your monthly collections roughly post-COVID here, in reference to what you were doing before, and broad brushstrokes.
Actually, Paul, I've caught back up, even though we were
Awesome.
closed for 8 weeks. Monthly collections, well, I'm fee for service, so you have
Awesome.
to remember that. So my AR is very low if there's nothing.
Yeah.
So monthly, we're doing about 116,000.
So that's great. So what that shares with you right off the bat is we're on 1.4 to 1.5 million dollar type dental practice. You have 6 operatories. Now you're the solo GP there, Ann, and part of this is for you to share your story. And part of sharing your story is sharing the positive parts and what you do well. So if I take all the practice owners across the country trying to sell practices, 1.4, 1.5 million for a solo GP is excellent. So share with us, how do you get to that? Is it hygiene, place your own implants, do endo? Tell us about your dentisting life, the real dentisting clinical part.
Paul, I think clinical, it doesn't really, I could be the best clinician or I could be a crappy clinician. I think a lot of it has to do with how you set up your team, and you were
Yeah,
talking about team.
right.
And I think it's how you set up your systems. I think it's who you employ also. My dentistry also, is obvious, but I have to have the right people around me. And I think that's so important. We have such great systems in our office. The office could run without me. My
That's great.
staff knows what to do, how to do it, everything. Um, I'm just the bonus. It gives me time then to set the trust factors, get to know my patients, and develop those relationships.
That's awesome.
Clinically, if you want to know clinically, I think it's 52% is restorative,
Awesome.
30% is hygiene. I do a little bit of, I do endo and oral surgery are each like 4%. Implants are like 2%. I mean, I could break it
So
up.
I want to pause too. When you talk about making a nacho plate, I'll use a smaller bag, and what toppings, you want the chips to be general dentistry, fillings, crowns, cleanings. Why? Even if you can place your own implants, awesome. Add that topping. But if you're going to buy a practice and they do 40% of the collections is endo, and it takes you 3 visits of 4 hours a visit to do 1 molar endo, it's not going to be a good fit. So this year we're hearing from you, Ann, is the core chips of general dentistry with 18% other stuff. So there's an opportunity there. Now, how many days a week are you guys open?
Yeah.
How many days a week, you guys? 4 days?
I'm 4 days, 33 hours.
Okay, so 4
I
days.
work
So now
three nines.
I like to
I'm sorry,
deconstruct the
yeah.
nacho plate, for people watching in, whether they're interested in this practice or another practice. So you now take 4 days a week at 52 weeks a year, and we take 200 days. You probably work less than 200 days a year. You probably do work less than 200, but let's take 200 days at 1.4 million. Believe it or not, that's only $7,000 a day on average. So when you're fee for service, Ann, and you're doing crowns, fillings, and cleanings, it sounds like it's not too challenging to get up to that $7,000 a day mark. How many hygienists
Yeah.
do you guys have typically?
I have 2.
2. So now let's talk about this. So we have a practice that is outstanding. You're outstanding. We know the location, but let's talk about the history. We've been working together as friends, meeting each other through Freedom Founders 2, which is a great group by David Phelps. And you've had interest in this practice, like how people have interest in a house. And I'm all into sharing the reality. What have been some of the challenges to getting an interested dentist over the finish line and taking over your practice and becoming a RAD? What have been some of those challenges?
I think the biggest challenge probably is just some small town.
Gotcha.
That's why I mean, I've had so many people say, if your practice was only,
Right.
40 miles away. I like the small town. The money's here, Paul.
Right.
That's what I can't get across to people. I have very little competition. In my whole county, there's only 40 general dentists in the county.
Right. So, and how many? There's 160,000 people, right?
Yes. So if you
So
break it down,
dentists,
it's
I want to share.
3,600 people.
We listen. Most of our life is due to timing, which is another word of saying luck. So I was born in Pennington, New Jersey. I love New Jersey. I live in Center City, Philadelphia. I didn't choose to be born there. I was. But where my dad has practice, where my brother and I do now, we have 1 dentist to every 1,000 people. So it is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly competitive. But you have a chicken and the egg thing, Ann, where part of your success is being in an area where you have this 1 to 4,000 ratio. But what I want to share is, and whether you're, Ann has been just such a pleasure to deal with, also the other seller on here as well. we always get frustrated. If you can't find a date, you get frustrated. You can't find someone to marry, you get frustrated. You can't find this, but you only need one person to solve your problem of buying a practice or selling a practice. The majority, there's someone on here who wants to own more than one practice like I do. That's a whole separate world. But if you had a CE course of 1,000 people and I was speaking, I said, raise your hand. If you currently own one or more practices, I believe less than 5% of hands would go up. I believe 95% of dentists only ever own one practice. So you only need to buy Ann's one practice to solve this problem. So basically the location has been a hurdle for people. Yeah. But let's say you now go back to the future, like one of my favorite movies, and you're saying, okay, I'm not someone who necessarily, like your husband's from the air of Baltimore. Go back to the where part. People, where can they travel to on the weekends if they say, hey, I can own this practice, be financially successful, make $400,000 or $500,000 a year. But now I'm not into the small town, but I'll live there and I'll get to know the community. But they can go to Baltimore. You've come to Philadelphia. Tell us about that again.
Oh yeah, we're halfway between Philly and Pittsburgh, so 2.5 or 2 hours each way. We tend to go to Baltimore or DC, 90 miles to DC. So it's nothing for us on a Saturday to road trip and, hit the Macy's or the Nordstroms or whatever. Right. We're coming up in the world. We have 3 Starbucks here in town.
Yeah,
now.
and I like that. That's it. And also, I want to share what's interesting about me. And I just thought about as we were talking, a lot of people say to me, so I grew up in central New Jersey, a great family, everything, but I love Center City, Philadelphia. And people go, why do you drive 40 minutes to work? And I say, because I like my office, right? And I can't just find another one down the street. So I want to share with you, dentist, dental offices, they're not candy stores. You can't be like, I don't like this one, I want this one instead. And a lot of times to manage your expectations, being more geographically flexible is going to create more opportunities for you to enjoy those hours when you're dentisting. That, of course, has to be put against emotional, social, mental health, right? So I'm not saying move somewhere where you have no framework of support, but this is a challenging time and has been a challenging time, but at least you can JFO, just find out about that. And as we wrap up on your segment, if you were, and I want to share, if you want to get to know Ann personally, you can just email us at transitions@dentalnachos.com. You can text NDA to 215-543-6454. Amanda will send you an NDA. She'll put that in the chat. But let's say, I mean, we're going to, I love video, so I'm going to make this our part into a video. I'm now going to send this to people. So when they say, I want to know about this practice, I'm going to say, look at Dr. Ann. She's so open and so positive about this. She wants to share authentically about her practice. Share with me, treat me like the person thinking about buying their own practice and kind of being open to moving to your area. Tell me why they should do that dentally, personally, anything like that. Sort of your Ann pitch on your scenario.
Living in our area, it's a smaller town. Cost of living is low. Where else could I have gone and only worked 18 years and been able to retire completely before I'm 50? That's awesome. Money's here. The potential is here. You just have to be willing, to live in a smaller town and not maybe have all the restaurants of Center City, Philadelphia. But that's what I can say is people give it a chance.
Yeah.
I have I have competition. I've never had to advertise.
What's interesting is you guys probably have an argument for needing more dentists, but it's not one that's going to be solved tomorrow. So you have more of there's an opportunity for dental collaboration because this 1 to 4,000 ratio, remember that team watching, and it's not even as simple as that, Ann, because that 160,000 is spread out in different areas. But if you have 40 into 160, we're now talking 1 to 4,000 for a solo practitioner. And that's why, and you said something that and I'll share authentically about me during the pandemic. One of the biggest annoyances for me has been dental insurance. It's just a challenge, right? I've always been hybrid. So the fee for service life is really relaxing. Are you able to do that because of your location and that, you can still get plenty of patients without taking insurance?
Yeah, well, let me put it, up till 4 years ago, I was insurance driven. Gotcha. And I had 4,600 patients by myself and I couldn't do it anymore.
It's too much.
I was going nuts. So that's when I'm like, I'm going to go fee for service. Now I'm down to about 2,100 patients, but I'm making more money than I was when I was insurance driven. I'm working not as hard and then making more money.
That is the dental dream.
Crazy.
Work less hours. Dentistry hours are dog year hours. Okay. I do lots of jobs. You know me. I'm a dentist. I'm a broker. I'm a speaker. I do this Nacho stuff. The hardest hours are clinical arts and crafts hours. They're like, I think 1 to 3. You know, me doing this hour here on CE on T or Nacho TV. I know I have a certain comfort zone in doing this and other people don't, but this is a much easier hour than doing clinical dentistry. So when you can put yourself in an area where you can do 33 hours a week and earn $400,000, $500,000 a year, taking over a system, everything that matters needs a system, and everything matters. So, Ann, I love that. Everything about you. We're going to talk about our other practice here in a minute. Hang around. You can, be in the chat if people have questions. You can tell Amanda, we can get you connected to people. I know that I really am proud of you for doing this. Thanks. It's the first time this has ever happened, and I want to do more of this in the future. So I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ann.